and welcome to VHS Showdown, episode 2.
Yeah.
My name is Mouthmaster Murph.
I am Jeopardy.
I'm Alan. Or Moon.
And I'm DJ Mayhem.
Yes, and this is VHS Showdown, where we delve into the dusty archives of the VHS out there to try and get some childhood memories and bring them back and try and see, was it as amazing as we remember? Was it awful? So that's what we're here to find out.
Today, I think we need to introduce Al properly. Now that we're one show old, we felt things were getting a bit stale, so we've got to try and get it back to the glory days. So we thought some fresh blood.
Yes.
So, Al, are you a child? You're a child of the 80s, aren't you?
I was 81.
Right in there. So a man who's, he's got the credentials to be part of this. So we'll jump straight in. I was given the randomly generated year of 1989, which is a bumper year when it comes to movies. I was spoilt for choice with what I could pick, but I decided to go for a film that I loved at the time I haven't really watched since, and it was Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. So if you haven't seen this film, I'm not sure why you're watching this podcast, to be honest. You're probably better off going and watching that film and then coming back now, because this will be lost on you. You won't get the most out of this that you could get, I don't think. So anyway, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, it's about a scientist who accidentally shrinks his kids, and then they go on a crazy adventure through his garden to try and get back to the house so he can try and put them back together to normal size. That's all you really need to know. So first of all, what was everyone's thoughts on watching Honey, I Shrunk the Kids again?
Underwhelming.
Really?
Underwhelming?
Well, it was a bit like Disney were obviously doing cartoons, and then they were trying to branch out into films, and they were on their ass a bit in the 80s with stuff like Tron and what have you. And I think they hadn't quite got their live action brand, so it's kind of just too whimsical.
How did you come into this film though? Were you a fan? You'd seen it before?
I watched it when it came out.
Yeah.
And it was young, so I enjoyed it. And then I watched it probably about 3 or 4 years ago, and those are the 2 times I've seen it.
Right, and you were underwhelmed. What about you, Alan? How did you feel about it?
A little bit of the same, really. Because I had actually seen it recently within like the last couple of months. And it's a fun Disney film.
Yeah.
Not quite as good as I remember.
No.
But I don't know if any of them will ever sort of like recreate when you're sort of like that young. But, yeah, it was alright.
And what about you, Tom?
Yeah, I love it. Oh, come on, it's great. I don't know, Disney did a thing, it was like in the sort of late 80s and early 90s where it was like watching a TV show but for an hour and a half. They had that look about it, they hadn't quite found the sort of film grade, but I think that really worked for it, and like props to that laser. I mean, look at it, it's like today, it'd just be one sheet of metal, wouldn't it? And it would be...
But the laser's fantastic.
In at the bottom, it was like when you're a kid and you're like thinking about mad scientists, that's what you want to see.
I think one thing that the 80s does better than any other decade in film is 80s sci-fi tech. It just looks, it's got wires coming out of it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like the proton pack in Ghostbusters.
It looks functional.
Exactly, yeah, the DeLorean, the proton pack, the laser in this, it all looks like it was cobbled together and it could actually work.
Yeah, that's exactly it, yeah.
It's kind of on that cusp, innit, of like the sort of 90s tech boom. So it's kind of got like still the homemade sort of tech to it.
Yeah.
On the verge of being something real decent. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of cobbled together.
Well, if you look at like films from like the 50s, 60s or 70s, when you see their idea of tech like that, it's always staged really badly.
Yeah.
But the 80s stuff looks like, well, actually that probably would be what it would have looked like.
Well, it was 89, wasn't it? So it was kind of almost there.
Well, I thought it was really, really good. I mean, it's not perfect at all. Do you know what I mean? It is at points badly directed, I think. So it's directed by Joe Johnston.
It's his first film.
It was, but obviously Joe Johnston had worked on Star Wars and Raiders of the Lost Ark, and he went on from that to direct The Rocketeer. Actually, funnily enough, Lee, me and you have met him.
Have we?
Because he's the director of Captain America, the first Avenger. And,
Right, yes.
Yeah.
Which we were in.
Which we were in, and I got to spend. Look, I was a featured extra in that.
Yeah, you got paid the big bucks,
I
didn't you?
got the big bucks there, yes, and I got a scene where I was in a cell that Captain America saved everybody from. I was there for a week filming that, and I was in it for like 2 seconds. But got to meet Joe Johnston. Didn't speak to him.
You can just see the tip of my nose as I walk out of a jail cell.
Yes.
How the fuck do we just see the tip of your nose?
Because someone blocks my view.
It's a good nose, though. It is.
It's a big nose.
And I think Joe Johnston isn't the best director. And I think if this had been in the hands of like Steven Spielberg or Christopher Columbus or Robert Zemeckis or Joe Dante, it would have been so much better.
When I was watching it last night, I did pay particular attention to the credits, and I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not claiming to be an expert on films, I just really enjoy them. It was licensed by Buena Vista or whatever they are.
That's Disney, isn't it?
Yeah, but everything else I didn't recognise. I didn't recognise the production company, like any of the companies that were involved in it. It was kind of very low budget by the look of it.
Well,
so.
I think you could kind of tell it was Joe Johnston's first film, and you could kind of tell that he's a special effects guy, because I think actually the special effects have aged quite well.
Yeah, in the way that like Ray Harryhausen's stop motion-y.
The stop motion's great.
Yeah, because that stuff you can tell it's fake, but it looks scarier because it looks fake.
I made a note
you know
of
what I
that.
mean?
It looks like sort of Sinbad.
Yeah. That's Ray Harryhausen did all the Sinbad stuff and like
Right.
Clash of the Titans and all that.
And he could, I think they could have gone a little bit high tech more than that. I think that's what they wanted, wasn't it? It was the look they must have been going for.
I think it was probably on the tail end of stop motion as well, wasn't it? Before CGI came in, so probably one of the last ones that did it.
You don't think it was intentional? I think they could have tried a CGI, but
Not in '89, it would have been bloody
You
awful.
reckon?
Have you seen the Dire Straits music video from the '80s? The CGI wasn't great at that time.
I think that's a bit of a sort of like polar opposite example, though. I mean, they could.
I don't think in '89 they could have done as much as they did.
Well, look at Slimer and the Ghost in Ghostbusters.
That's not CGI, that's puppetry.
Not Slimer.
Yeah,
Of course it is.
they didn't have CGI in bloody
I
'84.
thought it was a hologram. I thought they just fucking. I didn't realise it was a fucking puppet.
Your puppet.
I guess. Good job, I said. I don't claim to be an expert.
But I thought the bit with the bumblebee, that scene had aged really well. I thought the special effects on that were pretty good.
It was good. All the bugs. What I liked about them is they were really like hairy and it was like
Yes.
gross.
Horsehair.
It was,
Horsehair on the ants.
It was. That's that's
is
what I
that
meant.
what it was?
Well, obviously the bit with the ant is very, very sad. I made that as a kid. Traumatising.
If you do not cry at that, you are a fucking monster. because that is terrible. It's up there with like some of the worst like kids fucking.
But they
film
hype it
deaths.
up as well. It was like first of all they said, oh, he's like a juvenile or something, and then they're like, oh, he's missing his family. But then like just as he's about to get killed, they're like, he's only a baby. It's like, oh fuck, like, what are you doing to us?
And I'm calling bullshit on a lot of that. That ant would have teared them the fuck apart.
Oh,
It didn't really-
absolutely.
There would have been a bloodbath. That ant would have destroyed them.
Did you see its pincers?
Yes.
Those pincers are cutting through anything, like
Yeah.
especially young bones.
with that, I was thinking last night: is there a scorpion that is the size of an ant?
It was a bit bigger, wasn't it?
I mean,
wasn't
the
much
whole
bigger.
size thing of them fluctuates. They say they're a quarter of an inch, and then they're tiny, and then the ant's massive. And I don't know, the size thing in the whole thing's completely off at the time.
Speaking of calling bullshit, I mean, something that I thought, I mean, it wouldn't be much of a film, but surely it would have been quicker to head sideways, cut through the fence into a nicely cut lawn.
And go up there.
And make your way up the other side of the fence, you know.
If only you'd been there, Todd.
Well, who the fuck's got scorpions wandering around their garden
If
anyway?
you want to go further, they should have stayed by the ball when it landed in the fucking attic.
Yeah.
Because he would have found the ball and he would have found it there.
Well, he didn't find it to the end, though, does he?
Well,
Yeah. Bits of it which are a bit clunky, the way it's directed and the way that it's acted. But bits of it are really clever, like all the bits with the broom, sweeping them up and into the bag and all that. I thought that was very smart. It's got a great 80s cast, as far as 80s cast goes.
I wasn't a big fan of the cast, to be honest with
Were
you.
you not?
Well, but you have Rick Moranis,
Yeah.
obviously he's like killer. And then
Yeah.
other than that,
You got the lad from Big.
the lad from Big, yeah.
Let me just
I
say
don't
about
like
that,
his nose.
Right, you know what you
What's
said
wrong
last.
with
You
his
know
nose?
what you said last
It's
week
big.
about Cameron. His annoying face. Right?
Yeah.
The kid from Big used to annoy me, but like annoyingly, his face was there. Like used to get on my nerves. But I mean, I've got an annoying face as well to some, so I'm allowed to say that.
Yeah, no.
But the thing was, the kid from Honey I Shrunk the Kids annoyed me as well. His face annoyed me. I found out last night it's the same person.
Same person.
I swear to Christ, I did not know the kid from Big was the kid from Honey I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah.
It was like these two annoying faces, and I was like, shit, you're the same person.
Same person.
Corey Feldman would have been better. In that
Oh.
one, but he would have, you could say that about almost anything, couldn't you?
He's also got an incredibly large peak on his cap.
I'm glad you said
that
peak
is-
I
then.
thought you were going to say something else.
That
Yes.
is so incredibly vertical.
The other dad in it was like 30 or something, so he would have been like 14 when he had the one kid in it. Or something. So the actor who played him, he's in Watchmen, isn't he? And he's also in Star Trek Next Generation.
But you know who he actually is? Max Headroom.
Oh shit! Yes. Fuck yes.
Who's
Yes,
the
it's a
dad from
great
next-
80s cast.
The dad from next door.
Yeah.
I mean,
hell.
that's quite
Yeah.
likely, but who else is great in it?
Well, that's about it. But there's not many other people in it.
I will say the two kids annoy the shit out of me.
The older brother is just shit. He looks shit.
He looks like he's wearing lipstick, and there's something really weird about it.
The whole 80s romance, that was good though, with him and the bigger sister, and yeah, I thought that was good. I did quite enjoy that. Right, so it's got a semi-decent cast. Rick Moranis, obviously, he's carrying that film. Did you notice as well the whole sort of helmet thing?
What?
He had a helmet just like Ghostbusters, do you know what I mean? When he's Lewis Tully with the thing on, it was like...
Uh,
if you think about Rick Moranis, like all of his roles, he has a big helmet on. Spaceballs, Ghostbusters.
There was a part with a strap that was over on his chin a little bit when he was like obviously rooting around through the grass, and it just looked identical to the sort of Ghostbusters stuff as well.
If you needed somebody to wear a big helmet in the 80s, Rick Moranis was your Wow.
It's quite weird because I mean the story with him, he dropped out of filming when his wife died so he could spend more time with his daughters.
He dropped out of Hollywood for 23 years.
I was watching a vid about him last night and this guy was like, you've been retired for so long now, and he actually said, I'm not retired, but I just haven't found the right film. But the thing is, it's kind of like, you would think it with such a great actor, his kind of film is stupid. It's kind of like, you know, nobody's done a film stupid enough for him yet. Like, you know, when you think about Spaceballs, I guess that is his shtick. Like, you know, when the film's right, he'll come out and we'll see him again.
He got assaulted in 2020.
Have you seen that video?
I saw the video. He got sparked out in the street randomly.
Who the fuck is going to knock out Rick Moranis?
Have you seen it? He absolutely starches him. He's completely.
Yeah, the guy Mark Ventura was like randomly punched people in the street. I think he did it like 5 times previously, and I think he did it after he was released as well.
Jesus.
He like really injured him.
I mean, that's like punching a fucking puppy or
He was
something,
67.
It's like, Jesus Christ.
Have you seen pictures of him? He looks pretty good.
He hasn't changed much actually when you see photos of him now.
I don't know if this is where he lived. He got sparked out in Central Park West, which is where Lewis Tully's character lived in Ghostbusters.
According to this, his name's Lewis Tully. Lives on Central Park West.
That's cool.
That's nice.
And his actual name is Frederick Allen Moranis. And he was a DJ at school, and his DJ name was Rick Allen.
Inventive.
And what did he play?
Happy hardcore, Gabba,
Early jungle.
yeah.
But originally, I think his role was going to be Chevy Chase or John Candy.
Yeah.
I think John
The washing
Candy.
line wouldn't have held John Candy.
No, I don't have to really rethink that.
How did he get up on that thing? How did he get on that hammock with the TVs
Yeah.
balancing him out?
Yeah.
He's a scientist, isn't he?
Yes, science!
He ain't that clever. Was he doing walking around with stilts? That's a massive risk.
He's a massively irresponsible parent because he's created this laser which disintegrates things instantly, and he leaves it pointed at the door as you walk in. So he could have, like, you know, killed someone at any point.
It's not even got a lock on it. It's just like a sort of teenager sign saying "keep out."
Yeah, it was obvious a disaster was going to happen.
Also, struggling for money, that must use an extraordinary amount of electricity.
Well, the whole like subplot of him and his wife, that they're sort of going to break up, they're on a divorce, but they never really argue much in it. It's a bit weird.
Bitch said she loved him at the end. After she fucking found out that the machine works, she's like, oh, I fucking love you.
She dollar signs, couldn't she?
That rings true because when she's been staying at her mum's and she rings him and he's like, if things go well today, things are going to change around here, I promise. Like, what if it don't go well today?
Yeah.
I mean, fuck you. It ain't changing.
Yeah, so he's got a really good 80s cast. Special effects have lived up well. What was it you didn't like then?
Just the whole feel of it. It was like forced fun. Where it's like, oh, we're going to have an adventure now, you're going to have fun, you're going to have fun. You know, obviously Disney's mastered its craft now of live action films, but every now and again you do get the feeling that it's tailored and manufactured. And this, like I said, is, you know, one of their first live action of the 80s. There was a few in the 80s, but this, you know, this is like their big comeback, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? It took 222 million on an 18 million budget.
Because it came out in 89, the year after Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And if you remember when it came out in the cinema, there was a Roger Rabbit short before it.
Yeah. Tummy trouble.
Tummy Trouble, yes. But they reckon they put that at the beginning to help sort of drive sales because everyone was like Roger Rabbit mad at the time. And they reckon that was a big part. And the other reason it succeeded, it came out the same weekend as Batman. And I went to see Batman at the cinema and turned up there and it was a 12. I remember I cried my eyes out and the bloke gave me a poster.
He was 15.
Yeah, so they wouldn't let me in because I was like 7 when it came out. But I reckon it probably benefited from a lot of kids going to a multiplex to see Batman.
We did it also because Batman was so sold out that people were like, oh fuck, we'll go and see this instead. Yeah, that's what it did so well.
Yeah, so the sort of forced fun aspect, I think that's just a bad direction with it.
But you know, you've got the cartoon bit at the beginning. Which
The
is
cartoon
like,
bit was great. I really enjoyed
it's
that.
alright.
What, the intro?
Yeah.
I can only remember
dated.
City Slickers doing the same thing, but I can't think of any others that do that.
Gremlins 2
There
was
was-
a bit like that. at
There
the
were
beginning.
3 films that year that came out in Hollywood that had a animated intro. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was one. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation was the other one. I can't remember what the fucking third one was. But I quite liked the animated sort of beginning of it. Because they got like, there's a big lawsuit over the music as well. Because, you know, at times, I don't know if you find it, but it felt like the film didn't line up with the music. It was a bit,
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I know they got sued because he lifted a load of that from Looney Tunes. So dun 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 dun, and he never cleared the sample or whatever, or cleared the fact that they used it. And then Disney settled out of court like years later. But they also used music from the Goonies. And they just took music straight out of the Goonies and dropped it in there. So I think the reason why bits of it feels a bit disjointed and that might be because they didn't give it a proper sort of Hollywood score.
Well, I was watching the credits. I was like, did Danny Elfman do the music?
It
to
did
this?
sound like Danny Elfman.
And I was like, what the hell? If you take it out of the film context and you put it over another film, it would be like very wow, wow. It's got that very kind of like manic.
Danny Elfman would have been better.
Tim Burton-y kind of film sort of thing. You could put it over any of his films.
Yeah,
but
he was busy doing Batman.
So I watched the thing again because I admit that he's not on the end, but at the beginning, and it's a guy called James Horner.
Yes, James Horner. Yeah.
James Horner was it?
Yeah, what's James Horner done?
He's fucking Aliens.
Yes.
Field of Dreams, The Rocketeer, Mask of Zorro, Deep Impact, Amazing Spider-Man, and Titanic. He's had the biggest selling orchestral album of all time.
And he died in a plane crash.
Did he?
Like 5 years ago or something.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I never knew that.
How much I didn't know about him. I was like, well, who is this stranger that's done one hit wonder? Like, you know, it turns out he's massive and all that stuff he's done. I was like, all right.
Yeah, so I do think the forcedness of it comes from, like, it's a bit poorly directed, poorly acted at times. The last line that kid delivers, "Oh, now I get it. French classes." That's awful.
It wasn't even a funny joke.
No.
Just let alone, well acted.
Yeah.
Should have left it with the dog on the bone.
But they did grow on me, the cast, during the film. From the beginning, it's like, fucking bunch of no marks. To the end, it was like, not too bad.
So the other great thing about special effects, we talked about the stop motion bit, is actually the practical side of it. Like, it's all looks amazing.
Yeah, the ant. That's practical, isn't it? That was cool. That's really cool.
And like the blades of grass and the whole sort of outdoor thing.
The Cheerios were like an inner tube that they put fiberglass around.
I was a tractor tire.
Yeah.
They had in Hollywood Studios in Florida the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids like adventure park.
You can walk around it.
Honey, I Shrunk the Audience.
I remember they had a park. It was like a kids' playground or something where you could go around and it was like the massive grass and like batteries.
Yeah.
And Crayolas.
And did you get to go to that?
I don't think I ever went there.
I went there when I was 11, and I got to go to that bit, and there was a Honey, I Shrunk the Audience like 3D cinema experience you could watch, and then you came out of that into like the set. Like, I think my mum's got a photo of me riding the ant. I have to sort of dig it out and you flash it up now. But yeah, it was cool. They had all like the sort of stuff there, and you got to see it in real life. So all that was pretty cool. So what other facts have you got for us, Lee?
Originally, the film was called Teeny Weenies.
Oh.
And then it was called Grounded, and then it was called Big Backyard.
Oh.
And then they were like, fuck it, we'll just call it Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
He never actually says Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
He just said, yeah.
And grammarly, it's not correct, is it? It should be Honey, I Shrank the Kids, not Shrunk the Kids. That's not how you would actually say it, but it's a far, far better name.
Beyond my pay grade, mate.
Big Backyard.
I mean, they're all a bit seedy, aren't they?
Teeny weeny, definitely.
You got a teeny weeny on?
I got a big backyard.
He certainly does.
Did you know it was filmed in Mexico?
Yes.
All in Mexico
Yes.
City.
Yeah. The whole set, all
all
the houses.
American Street is
all the houses
actually
were
rebuilt.
built.
Yeah, they rebuilt that entire street for it, and they built like the whole bit of grass. It was all like 40-foot blades of grass, and so it would have been an amazing set to have actually sort of.
I mean, the
filmed.
money they must be saving doing it there to be able to, to put all the budget into that. Although, I mean, anybody else? Are you supposed to like suspend disbelief, like when he's smashing the laser apart and the microchips are falling down and they're almost floating,
Yes.
like the blades of grass. You can sort of see the corrugated cardboard inside them as they go by. It's like, could they have put a bit more into the effects? Or
I bet it cost a fucking fortune to film this. I bet it was well expensive.
17 million.
17.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose it was the 80s, wasn't it? So you can factor in inflation. Well, so obviously there was a sequel. I suppose.
Honey, I Blew Up the Baby, but they changed the name of it after it was released, or it was different in different regions, I think.
I saw that on Disney Plus now, and it's Honey, I Blew Up the Kid.
Yeah.
But I swear at the cinema it's Honey, I Blew Up
It
the
was.
Baby.
It was. They've changed it since.
Why? And then there's a third one, Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves, which I've never seen. I've seen Honey, I Blew Up the Baby.
Apparently, it's better than the sequel.
it is.
Is it? You watched it not so long ago, didn't you, Sub?
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, the effects don't get any better, for two films down.
Well, the
and
budget shrinks with each film.
does it?
It was straight to video, I think, wasn't it? The third one.
Noticeable. It's watchable, but it's not. You're not going to lose anything if you don't.
They did a TV series.
That was really good. I remember watching it, and I can't. I would have been about 15 at the time.
They recast everyone. It ran for 66 episodes.
I can't remember a single thing about it. I didn't even remember there was a program. But when it came on, when I've seen it on YouTube, I was like, "Holy hell!" I might watch them again.
Seems weird because Ferris Bueller's Day Off, when we watched that last week, that ended up with its own TV show, didn't it? It's like must have been a bit of a fad in the 80s.
I think it was cash in, wasn't it?
I mean, the only good thing I remember it was Young Indiana Jones, which Joe Johnson directed.
Which he directed a couple of them.
Yeah,
he did
yeah.
too.
That was quite good. And do you know that they're making a new one now?
Yeah.
Called Shrunk.
Are they?
Yes.
Are they now?
With so Rick Moranis is in it.
Is he?
And there's someone playing his son. It's
Josh Gad.
Josh Gad. He's playing Rick Moranis' son.
Who is interesting. I like him in what he does, but I just know what character he's going to bring to this. 'Cause
Yes.
apparently the storyline is that Nick has grown up and followed in his father's footsteps, but he's got massive anxiety issues. So you can imagine Josh Gad, who already plays anxious and stupid, playing that on this character, that's going to be quite weird to watch. But I don't know. Hopefully it'll work.
I wonder whether it's the start of a trend of different sort of 80s franchises doing a Ghostbusters Afterlife now, because they know that like our generation who were kids when we watched it have now grown up and we've got kids, and we'll probably take our kids to the cinema.
It was nice to believe that it's just magic, and but I think that you're probably right. I think there is an element of, can we now cash in on the children of the people we had back in the 90s?
It's free marketing.
Well, you're going to go see it, aren't you?
It's a classic reboot, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of those like Afterlife reboot / continuation of.
Well, did Bill watch this with you though?
Bill watched this with me, and he fell asleep halfway through. But to be fair, he normally falls asleep halfway through. It was just unusual that he stayed awake for all of Ferris Bueller.
Inconclusive then.
Yes. So the voice of the ant is Frank Welker. You know, Frank Welker did like Megatron. He did Slimer from Real Ghostbusters, Uni from Dungeons and Dragons, Scooby-Doo. He did Gizmo and Stripe.
Fucking hell.
If you look at any cartoon or any film with like an animal doing a sound in it, he probably did it.
Did the ant even make a noise though? I can't remember.
Yeah, it had this. It was like. It had a little purr, didn't it?
He did
screamed as
the
well. when
Martians
the
from
scorpion
Mars
went for it.
Attacks. He did the alien from fucking Independence Day. He did the baby Godzillas and the reboot of Godzilla from the 90s.
Fucking hell.
He's done so
I
many monsters.
feel like they might have paid a little bit too much to get him. They could have got any... do you know what I mean?
And more to the
Because
point,
they
would
could have
that-
got anyone to do that, couldn't they?
Yeah, and would that not be like, you know, come in and be like, right, what am I up to today? A cat, dog, cactus?
Yeah.
No, you're an ant.
You're an-
Oh, what do I say?
Here's
Fuck
your
all.
script.
That's it.
Yeah, you purr like a cat, like with its balls in a vice.
Just get a fucking cat. Just get a cat to do it.
They could, yeah. You're going to save money. Wouldn't be able to deliver the lines with much gravitas.
I feel like you're judging this cat before we've seen
Well,
it.
do you know what I mean? I'll give him an audition. Like, is he
It
going
might
to,
be
you know,
fucking brilliant. You never know.
he's got to die on film. That's the emotional bit of the movie. He's got to sell that. Do you think that cat's got the chop to sell that death?
Well, I mean, I am going on a bit of a tangent here. So he did Megatron, Frank Welker, but Optimus Prime, Peter Cullen, did the noise that the Predator makes. And they got him in to pay him to do that. Do you know what I mean? So anyone could have done that. So
Okay, so other positives or negatives? Anyone got anything else?
I liked the dad, the neighbour. Like,
Yeah.
not Rick Moranis' character.
yeah,
I liked,
he was
I liked that.
a bit too much of a twat.
Yeah, he
a
was a
little
twat. I liked the ongoing gag of the whole, like,
Yeah.
of everyone who was, like, talking to him. I thought that was quite amusing. I liked at the end as well when he became bigger after being shrunk or whatever, and his hat
Didn't fit.
didn't
Yeah,
fit.
yeah, that was.
I kind of
pretty
like that.
cool.
I thought that was quite whimsical, like.
He had a weird arc though, didn't he? He was like twat dad, and he was like, "Oh, give it a go on me," like, and then that was his redemption, wasn't
Yeah.
it? That one little decision. He didn't really do much else.
But that's good though, isn't it? Because that
It's
buys,
proved-
that buys, him,
proved.
buys him out of all the twattishness of the film.
Yes.
So you're just kind of like, oh, he was all right in the end.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you know, so he was allowed. That's the thing, because he is just such a dick every time he appears on film that, you know, you could end up hating him, but it does turn you straight round. You're like, oh, all right then, fair enough.
He was just a bit of a twat, wasn't he? He wasn't a dick. He was just a twat.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
He knew he was doing it, didn't
Yeah, he wasn't being, like, malicious with his dickness. Like, he was just being...
Have you ever been malicious with your dickness?
Not once. Not fucking once.
So in the original script, during the bit where the sprinkler drops are falling on the grass, there was a fifth kid in it who died.
Oh.
And that really would have put a different spin on the entire film, that would have, if a kid had died. Because when they brought them back, they'd be like, well, where's
Steve.
Steve? And they'd have been like, Steve's dead. And then I don't think his wife would have been so pleased with Rick Moranis.
No.
No, they certainly wouldn't have been sharing a turkey at Thanksgiving
No,
if
they
one of
wouldn't.
them had died.
he? No footsie under the table.
No.
No.
But fair play. Who's that girl? I mean, I think her name's Amy in real life, isn't it? But the hell was that in her mouth that she had to hold and cough up?
I'll tell you what, that bit when she's choking on
it's
that mud, it's
dark.
quite dark.
Yeah.
Man. That was like, fucking hell, this is like great fluffy Disney film, and all of a sudden that was quite like, hang on.
But you notice that that's the thing, is that what they do is they get the business done in the middle of the film. The guys go on a bee, they meet an ant, she falls down and nearly drowns. This ant dies after you get attached to it, and they get all that done right in the middle. So it means that you've got the beginning and the end to be full of shit and mess around if you want to. And that's kind of what they've done. Is kind of like they made the rest of it fun and just like throwaway, because, well, not throwaway, but you know, you can just amble along with that because all the action is kind of in the middle. They build the characters and then it all happens, so you get your emotions all at once, and you're like, oh my god, I'm happy. I'm relieved. It's
I
like,
do think, though, it would be shit if they got shrunk and were walking through a garden and nothing happened, and it was a jolly jaunt back to the house. Like,
I mean, that'd
you've
be
got to
boring as
have
hell,
some
wouldn't it?
sort of, like...
Yeah.
Jeopardy.
Yeah, oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
But it's quite good because the Jeopardy actually is quite dark in it. Do you know what I mean? Like the bit
Yeah.
with her almost drowned in, the aunt dying. And I think that's one of the nice things about those 80s movies.
They weren't afraid to go a bit dark, to scare kids a little bit.
Yeah.
Like Indiana Jones and stuff. Like, whoo, you know, stepping forward. I think the only film that really does that, or really did that, was like Harry Potter's. Because
Yes.
a lot of that is
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, that's a bit like, ooh, bit slightly
Yeah,
unsettling.
that went from very playful to very dark very quickly.
Never-ending story.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
that's the cliche, isn't
Yeah.
it? I mean, but at least the horse comes back to life.
Well, the werewolf in that, that thing was fucking terrifying.
It was.
I can barely remember Neverending Story.
Holy hell, let's hope.
Yeah, so well, I might crop up on one of them.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
One thing I think they could have pushed further was the dad's smoking gag, where he keeps getting a fag out and almost getting busted. I mean, he did it like once and maybe like almost did it a second time, but
Yeah.
they should have done that a couple more times.
Also, if that cigarette landed next to you and you were the size that they were, that would just kill you instantly
Yeah,
from the fucking smoke.
yeah.
You would
Yeah.
just be dead.
Or burn you, I guess. wouldn't
Yeah. I mean, I'd love it.
it? Yeah.
I mean, I like a
Get
bit of
like you.
nicotine, and I mean, I'd love that. But, like, you'd be dead.
So you were saying how the kids annoyed you.
Yeah, I didn't like them. Didn't like any of them. Especially the fucking little bastard with the lawnmower.
Oh, him!
Oh my fucking god. If you were paid in to come round and mow your lawn... Did you see how he mowed it? It wasn't even in stripes. He was just fucking all over the place.
That mower was fucking cool. As well.
No, it wasn't. It had a fucking radar or something on there. What's it? It's remote control. It ain't fucking going into space.
You've got 2 pages written down of just
What-
slagging off the
what
kids.
is rather
there.
the odds of
It's
all of them
mostly-
making it out
mostly,
in a row when that blade's spinning, they all hanging on to each other.
Well, if they
nicely
were
fight.
going to kill a kid in it, that's what they should have done. It split one in half or something.
My
like that
God.
blade.
I mean, that would have been horrible. Just
you see it
blood
fly?
on the side, that's it, that's done. He's gone.
Absolute savage.
What else did the kids do to upset you, Alan?
That fucking girl screaming.
Yeah.
Like, especially that bit when they were coming out of the hole with the lawnmower.
You'd be,
Yeah,
screaming,
like,
you'd be screaming like a girl, wouldn't you?
I mean, was it excessive? You were about to get blown into a gigantic fucking lawnmower, so maybe it wasn't excessive. But
Yeah, you
Yeah.
would be screaming.
I mean, tone it down. Decorum, like decorum. If you're gonna die, go with a bit of fucking grace. Not like
Singing the national anthem or something.
Amazing.
yeah.
What the hell?
This was America, isn't it?
It's not the national anthem.
He's of America. Amazing Grace.
Nah, it's
Isn't
not.
it?
It's a Star Spangled Banner, isn't it?
Oh, well, there you go.
You're singing a church song.
There's my knowledge.
You sang that in primary school.
They did sing Amazing Grace in America, didn't they? I thought that was...
Well, yeah, no, they might do. But I mean, as I said, it's not the national anthem. Do not get up in front of a baseball crowd and do that. You're fucked.
That's next week's booking. Right. Yeah, so the other scene we mentioned was the boardroom one.
I just thought that guy again was a piece of shit in there. I mean, Rick Moranis was doing his best.
He deserved better.
Well, he did.
Yeah.
He did.
I mean, like, the guy has just invented a machine that shrinks things. Admittedly, they wanted proof.
You don't need proof when you have instinct.
He couldn't
Yeah.
provide said proof.
Scoffing at
They
him.
fucking poo-pooed him.
Yeah, but he made it in his fucking attic, but it don't work yet. It
Yeah,
just
but then-
blows things up.
From the audience.
I'm nitpicking, but I do have a problem with the fact that when his neighbour was talking to him about the length of his grass, and he was like, "We've all got to do our bit," and then he tries to kill a bee. He wouldn't get away with
With a
that shit
baseball
now.
bat?
In
Yes.
2022.
With a
You couldn't
baseball
kill a
bat?
bee. Yeah, but why would you do that?
I suppose the thing is, though, that baseball bat did come into play as a little bit of a sort of like...
Plot device.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yes. No, yeah, it's a good point, actually. That was a nice little bit of writing there. I like to think with that boardroom scene, in my imagination when I was watching it, that was the boardroom of OCP. Because you can imagine that guy working at OCP, just
Yeah.
shaming that bloke and walking out,
Yeah.
you know.
The 80s brought the yuppies, didn't it? And a lot of smarm. There was like everybody was in braces and pinstripe suits and being like, "Yeah, I'm better than you."
Yeah, well, it was all the Reagan years and business and all that sort of stuff, wasn't it? And sort of people entrepreneurs going out and making money. So that's what a lot of it's sort of about. It influences a lot of 80s films quite heavily, that sort of Reaganomics sort of thing. Anybody else got anything else they'd like to say?
I thought it was just a good sort of, like, you would have no problem sort of sitting down with your family or even on your own on a Sunday and sticking that on. It's not
Yeah.
offensive, is it? And it's a classic.
I think I'll show it my kids in a year or two when they're a little bit older now. Yeah. What about if you were going to recast it now? If you were going to actually reboot it now, who would you have playing who?
I mean, I know you said about it last time, but wouldn't Seth Rogen be a good Wayne Zielinski?
He wouldn't be too bad, yeah. I think what's his name? McLovin. He'd be good.
Oh, we're going younger, okay. Yeah, no, that's it.
Well, he's probably 30 odd now, I would have thought.
Do you know how old he was supposed to be in that film?
What, Rick Moranis?
Yeah.
He was 30 in Ghostbusters, so he would have been...
84,
35.
but still. younger than us.
Yeah. So any other thoughts on the recast?
I mean, the mums I felt were a little bit throwaway. The neighbour's mum was quite good. The way she interacted with her husband was all right.
She's used to his shit.
Yeah.
She's not even sick of it. She just tolerates it.
Yeah, there are funny sort of like him and her films. Now there would be better women out there who could make that role something a bit more. Who's the woman out of Bad Neighbours?
Oh, the Australian one.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's quite funny. Yeah.
Yeah, she'd be interested in it, but
And I guess it's hard to recast the kids, isn't it? There's not many really famous sort of kid actors.
I think all the kids in that pretty much quit acting, didn't they?
The girl quit acting a few years later because she was sick of getting people asking her to play nude roles, and then she went and joined a circus, which she's still in.
Oh, no way.
Jesus. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I don't think that kid was in much else, was he? The kid?
Oliverius. They were saying that he's gone off the radar. He doesn't even have social media. They can't find him under his real name.
Really?
So yeah, he's completely gone. The one from Big, he's given up acting as well, and he plays in like a rock band, but like just around bars and that in LA. They make a living, but they're not big. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Do you think it's aged like fine wine, or has it turned to vinegar?
I've got a special place for it, so it's aged well to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, not just because it's, it's personal. It is just I do think it looks now exactly like it did then. It wasn't supposed to be a classic, and it's found its own little niche, isn't it? And I think it'll always be accepted for what it is.
Yeah, I think I accept it for what it is. That it is a little bit rough around the edges, and it's like a B- 80s film, isn't it? That's what I mean.
The way it's been crafted hasn't aged well.
No,
but I mean, like the stop motion will always be more timeless than like something like CGI.
Bits of it are good, and I think when it is good, there's the odd bits of the old gag, with Rick Moranis when he's on about like the kids being blown apart. There'll be bits of them everywhere, and that's actually quite funny. So,
when she faints when they're talking to the copper, that's probably the
that was good.
Yeah, there is moments when it is quite funny. I think I have to give a score out of 10 for this one because it is so in the middle. So I would score this one out of 10, 7.5.
I'm gonna say on this one an 8.
It's got to be a 7. It's not a classic. The effects are still pretty cool. It still looks pretty cool. It's a family-friendly sort of fun film, but it's not one that you want to return to watch every sort of couple of months, is it? I don't know.
And I'm going to give it a 6.5.
I think if you watch it as a kid, you will really enjoy watching it again.
I watched it as a kid, and I beg to differ.
Well, you still enjoyed it. You didn't hate it.
Yeah, it was alright.
I think if you've never seen it before, you're probably not going to get a lot out of it. In a nostalgic way.
It's probably just a good place to go and watch a younger Rick Moranis.
Yes.
But yeah, if you watch it now, you'd probably miss the boat on that one.
Yeah. So that's our verdict on Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. You let us know what you think in the comments, and you can put all that in there. So next up, we need to find out what film it is we're going to be watching next week. So Lee, what year were you given, and what have you picked?
It was 1982.
Oh.
What film do you think I picked?
I've had a look. And I mean, I'm hoping that we do steer away from films that that are quite so well known. But I reckon you've gone for The Thing.
I would also say you've gone for The Thing.
Motherfucker looks just like The Thing.
I have gone for The Thing. I was real I had to go to The Thing.
It's fair because I know you've been on at me to watch it before, and I did start, but I've never actually watched it.
Oh, well, let's talk about this next week. Listen, you're fucking spoiling next week's episode.
No, we're not. We're leaving cliffhangers.
No, I can't believe you never watched it.
I've seen about 10 minutes of the beginning.
Right, so now we need to generate a year for Alan, because Alan, you're going to be doing the next one. I did want to get a 10-sided dice today for this, but I forgot. So here's our random number generator. You can see this is all fair. 1980!
1980.
Oh, my word. Oh, that's early.
Weighty.
That is.
Weighty 1980.
That is going to be an interesting year. Because the stuff of 1980, it's a bit like the 70s.
Yeah, it's a bit later.
Do you know what I mean? But it's
A year later.
But some of that 70s stuff is crazy when you watch it. It's like they were still working out what they were doing.
Yeah.
So some 70s films are a bit like, what? When you watch it. And so, that early 80s has got that. The late 80s stuff is almost 90s, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because that's the earlier.
Time, mate. Time.
So next week then, John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah, nice.
So watch it at home and then come back and see if you agree with our thoughts on it. Thank you, everyone. This has been VHS Showdown, and we'll see you next week.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Goodbye.